Thanks for tuning into the market wrap. I'm Niraj. It was an ugly day of trade. If you're a bull, if you're a bear, you would be singing your way all to the way to the bank. Well, a different set of suspects really came in and contributed. Let's pull up the index first and quickly show you what the Nifty did. Specific names. I mean, that tells you a story, doesn't it? Hardly any gainers. Most stocks brutally badgered. And while we were anticipating some bit of corrective move, this was a bit more than what we thought in the morning as well. Look at the losers. Financials were taken to the cleaners. Tech started contributing as well. And mind you, this is despite Accenture numbers coming out late today. And if they turn out to be good, then maybe there is some bit of relief to tech. But TCS, of course, has these individual idiosyncratic issues about the Chapurji Palanji Group hangover as well, right? And as a result of which, that stock for the last 2 days has only gone one way, and that is down. So Bajaj Finance, IndusInd Bank, TCS, autos like Tata Motors and Mahindra correcting a bit, and only two stocks gaining. That tells you a story. It was a brutal day of trade, really, for the large caps. But I thought the mid cap breadth kind of did relatively okay. I mean, you would have expected on a day when the index is corrected 3% that the bet would be terrible in the small cap space. That stayed out well. Out here on the NSE 500, though, you still had only 60 gainers and 440 stocks declining, especially in the last half an hour when they got pulverized. But look at that. I mean, there were stocks which did well. So Apollo Hospitals on that Credit Suisse note up about 7%. There's some strength in Zydus Wellness because of this buyback or QIP, the fundraising that they want to do as well. Metropolis up about 2.5%. SL Propack gained after a few days of a fall. Orient Cement gained a little bit in trade. But stocks that lost out a lot. I mean, a lot of heavy duty names out there down 7, 8%. So 8 and 7 and 6%. Emphasis, India Bulls, Ashok Leyland. The list is very, very large. So viewers, keep in mind, it was a brutal day of trade. And we'll talk about the world markets too. But I think a lot of pockets of weakness in the session today. Nickey Johnson to talk about those. Nickey, I don't know if you have a list of just losers or are there some stocks which did well as well?
Managed to eke out at least one which is performed decent enough. But then I'm going to start off with, I would like to notify the fact that it's probably the worst fall that the markets had in the last 4 months. So clearly we can see the gravity of the fall. The stocks that really stood out on the negative side, please, we had the city gas distributors like Gujarat Gas, Mahanagar Gas, and Indraprastha Gas. All of them, they witnessed some amount of badgering coming in today's session of trade. Oil and gas regulator has issued in a draft regulation to determine tariff, if at all tariff is needed, or a third party or a new entrant would require to pay for using a network to supply piped and compressed natural gas. This is in order to figure out if this can be done away with, since the country is planning to aim, improving the penetration of cleaner alternative to kitchen and auto fuel for curbing pollution. In effect to which you've seen some amount of profit booking coming in on these counters. Metal stocks, all of them witnessed pressure. Coal India specifically was trading at an all-time low level that we've seen, was one of the top laggards at one point of time on the Nifty 50 index. It fell good 3.5-4% in trade today, and the volumes were rather dismal. If you talk about the stock trading, it was trading below all the key moving averages. It was an oversold territory. RSI was at 23. So clearly, you can see the amount of the amount of selling pressure that Coal India has witnessed in today's trade. What actually did well in at least the first part of the session was Cholamandalam Investment and Finance. This is because Citi came up with an initiation report on this counter, a buy rating here, with a price target of nearly 300, where it said that it's a top mid-cap pick at this point of time amongst the NBFC space. It said that COVID-19 will definitely lower the growth and the ROE in FY21, but FY22, they're expecting to see a recovery to an extent of 10 to 16%. Multi-product portfolio is expected to help the growth recovery. So on account of that, 4.5% kind of uptick, but again, the stock ended the day rather lower to an extent, with gains of minimal gains of around 0.5%. What we also have is Sun Pharma in our list. where some amount of selling pressure came in after Bloomberg reported that the drug maker has voluntarily recalled one lot of Riomet. The reason for the recall is attributed to the presence of NDMA, which has been found to be above an acceptable level by US FDA, because of which you're seeing some amount of selling pressure building in for this counter. But then, Niraj, I'm going to come back to you. UTI AMC IPO price has been fixed. It's been a couple of times that the IPO has been deferred. Of course, the regulator asked few of the banks to actually offload the stake in UTI AMC, and the IPO is going to kickstart on September 29th. You think there'll be a lot of traction, especially in this situation when the market is rather weak?
Yeah, I mean, the market's just coming off a little bit, but the IPO market is still hot, right? I mean, we had the inklings of the markets coming off, and yet we saw the kind of subscription that ChemCon had, though I must admit that Intel hasn't had it. But UTI has a pedigree name, even though it's not in the top five, and we know that even the top five of late, HDFC and Nippon, have had some issues. So, in terms of stock prices coming off too. So remains to be seen. Yes, I think most people who are applying shouldn't quite expect the kind of performance that maybe HDFC AMC or Nippon AMC have put up, or some of the others. But the AMC business is a fabulous business per se. The ROI keeps on moving up every single year, and therefore maybe it's still a niche pocket, Nickey. So you never know how it will turn out. And of course, by the way, there are a bunch of others, right? There's this Lithica Infra that you're tracking, or for that matter, Mazgaon Dock shipbuilders that talked to us today and opening on the 29th. So that part of the market is still hot. I'm still tell.
Yeah,
Anyways,
Lithica Infra is very which way the small IPO that we're talking about compared to the size that we've seen for Mazgaon Dock or for
yeah.
other agencies IPO. So I believe there will be a niche amount of segment that will be interested in this IPO, but then most of the people, more than the fundamentals, are rather bet into an IPO just for the listing day gains as the trend has been catching up. If that's the trend which is expected to play, then probably Latika Infra will also be a beneficiary to this kind of broad plan that retail investors these days are having.
Well, let's wait and watch if that continues. It's a day game, and when it unravels very quickly. But yeah, it's an interesting point too. Just very quickly, viewers, before we wrap up, pull up what the world markets are doing. And remember, I mean, day before yesterday too, we had a very deep cash, while the world markets did not perform as poorly. What I mean to say is this. And in today's session too, we've had a really deep cash, but uh, FTSE, CAC, DAX are still okay. They are not as terrible as what our markets look like. So that is part one. Well, some part of it could be because the Dow futures are trading marginally in the red. Don't look at the performance of the Dow, but the futures are just about a quarter of a percent lower. So maybe the expiry day blues coming in to hurt us today, and tomorrow could be a different day. We now broken some key supports, so it'll be interesting to see if we bounce back from there, or do we have another down day tomorrow. But from Nickey and myself and the team that put this market wrap piece together, thank you so much, viewers, for tuning in, and have a great evening ahead.